Hi everyone. This week's Humankind episode, it was a real treat for me. I hope it is for you. I'm interviewing Liane Moriarty. Now, Liane is someone I've interviewed over the years as each book comes out, and I've watched her success grow with every book that comes out. And what I've also watched is her somehow remarkably, I don't know how, does not change at all. She's always the same. She's always lovely. She's always down to earth. She's also really studied in her answers, and she's just an all-round really good bird is how I would describe her. She writes like a dream. This book, Big Little Truths, it is, of course, the sequel to Big Little Lies. And I don't know, women have been waiting for this book for so long. It's fantastic. We meet the girls, the women 10 years on. This time they are just living lives like so many of us are. They're coping with menopause, teenagers, sandwich generation, husbands, the whole kit and caboodle, or as Liane would say, the whole calamity. And of course there's a mystery because it is Liane Moriarty, but it's brilliant. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my chat with Liane. I loved it. I always love talking to her, and I hope you love listening. Thank you. Hello, Liane Moriarty. It is very nice to see your lovely face.
It's lovely to see your lovely face.
You know, I feel like the last time you and I spoke, it was on a stage in Brisbane, and the only thing I remember about that night is your lovely publicist, Tracy, trying to teach us how to take a decent selfie.
We did. And actually, we got a really good photo of the two of us together. I was really happy with that photo.
I never take a good selfie. It was something about...
I never do.
No. It was something about pretending we were leaning over a fence.
Yes, leaning over a fence. You've got to do that. You've got to put your neck out. It's always a mistake whenever I tried to follow those techniques.
But look, speaking of seeing lovely faces again, congratulations on Big Little Truths. I have spent the last few days immersed in the Pirawi Peninsula with all your old friends, Madeline, Celeste, Bonnie, Jane, Renata, and I have loved every minute of it, I must say. Now, this is your first ever sequel. So I guess my first question would be, what made you decide to write the sequel? And did you always know that you had unfinished business with these women?
No, I absolutely did not know I had unfinished business. So I had always said I had no interest in writing a sequel to any of my books. I can remember when the producers had first started talking about Big Little Lies, Reese Witherspoon sent me an email and she said, people are asking, is there any chance of a sequel? And I can remember writing back something like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be like the Game of Thrones guy. I've got no interest in I understand why you're asking the question because that's wonderful if you have a series. And I always had this standard line that I've put my characters through too much, and so I've left them in a happy place, and I just want to leave them there. The first thing that happened was the show was such a success that everybody wanted a season 2. So then I said, well, I will come up with some ideas for you. But because I didn't know how to give them ideas without actually writing a book, I wrote a 50,000 word novella, but I did that and I was sort of proud of myself for doing it this way. I did it just for the show. So I wrote it with an American accent. And I even, which I now wish I did not, I even made some changes to my own characters' backstories from the book to suit the show that I thought would work better for the show. So that was the sort of first little fracture, I guess, in my announcement that I would never write a sequel. So I did that. And then the years went by and people kept asking, is there likely to be a third season? And I did start saying, well, if I was to write a sequel, maybe this could be the one that I did it for, because I wrote Big Little Lies when my children were little. And I had my children quite late, so I could see from all my girlfriends that the teenage years would present many challenges.
Yeah.
But I knew that I would need to experience it myself first. So I started saying maybe I could do this. Um, but then the years went by and there would sort of be this ebb and flow of interest in a new season of Big Little Lies. And so I wrote other books. In fact, I was writing a completely different book set in a high school with one of the storylines that I have ended up using in Big Little Truths. And what happened was there was another sort of swell of interest in we really should do a new season of Big Little Lies. And that's when I suddenly thought I could actually use this
Yeah.
storyline. I could give this to my people for my Big Little Lies people. And so I said, I actually wish I hadn't said it out loud. I wish I'd just quietly done it. I said, okay, I'm going to write, I will. I'm doing it. After all this time, I will write a sequel. But the problem with me saying it out loud was that they then said, okay, where is it? We want it right
Yes.
now. 'Cause the film people are not,
Yeah.
in the publishing world, as you know, they treat us with more delicacy, I think, that, it'll be right when it's right. Whereas Hollywood said, what's taking so long?
I've said many things out loud that I've regretted. So you're
Yes,
not alone
yes, me
there.
too. We should just never say anything.
But having decided that, okay, you're going to do it, you've said it out loud, it's real. What was it like for you? And I know you had the novella, but this is, a very whole return 10 years down the track. What was it like writing a sequel? And which of those characters did you love meeting again 10 years on?
The wonderful part of it was that I loved the fact that I knew all the characters so well. So normally I'm not one of those authors who the characters come to them fully formed. For me, I get to know them through the process of writing them. So I normally when I write a new book, I miss my characters from the previous book because I knew them so well. And the new characters often feel a little bit cardboard like in the beginning
Until you fleshed them
until I
out.
get them moving. But with this one, I knew immediately who they were. So it was a pleasure really to return to all of them. I think in answer to your question, which one in particular, I think it was Madeline because she's always such fun to a feisty character, somebody who sort of responds in over the top ways is always really fun to
She
write.
reads like she's fun to write.
Good,
So
good.
we do meet them 10 years on, and this means kind of two big life stages are happening. Number one, these women are tottering or teetering or sliding towards 50, all the fun that comes with that, perimenopause, menopause. It means that their kids are teenagers and all the fun that comes with that. How is writing about women in that stage of life?
I definitely did not think, okay, here I am writing about women in their 50s. It was just that, well, here we are 10 years later. So Madeline's turning 40 in the first chapter of Big Little Lies. So I had her turning 50 in the first chapter of Big Little Truths. Um, and the great thing about being in your 50s is there is so much material that your 50s offers you, which I'm sure when I was in my 20s or even my 30s, I think I would have thought that when you're in 50s, it was just sort of a neutral, irrelevant time. um, I had no, I had no idea of, I think the fact that you're still a person
Oh, yeah.
in your 50s, and I guess that's going to, I assume my characters will keep growing older along with me. Um, I do that because it's a way of exploring what's going on in my own life and with all my friends. This is what's preoccupying us. And so really it was just fantastic that there is so much that you've got aging parents, you've got menopause and perimenopause, and you've got teenage children. So you've just got a lot going on. And in Madeline's case, she's got an ex-husband, and it's just all happening. And then I feel bad about what I did to Madeline, but
Yes, well,
the truth of it is that life does that to you sometimes, that you think only one bad thing can happen at a time, but sometimes everything happens at
That's so
once.
true. And this whole book, I feel like, is about the beautiful calamity of life and all the stuff that does happen to all of us as we age. Everything you just touched on, then, myself and my friends, the same. That sandwich generation, people getting sick, people dying, the whole thing starts to happen. And I just want to go back to what you said about the teenagers. My friend calls the teenage years the beautiful terror.
The terror of wanting your teenager to love you, or the
Yes.
terror of all the terrors of everything
Because they're
all of the
terrifying,
terrors.
Leon. That's
Yes, yes,
but they're
I think that's
beautiful.
perfect. But they're so, so beautiful. And yes, they break your heart, and they can if my daughter smiles at me sometimes, then it feels like your heart just lifts with joy. Oh my goodness, she was nice to me. She was so nice to me. And my daughter says,
Later
calm
they'll
down.
turn around and give you the most divine hug you've ever had in your life.
I know, I know. So the beautiful terror is just perfect.
The one thing I noticed with this book, which I think is such a skill, writing in teen speak, if you get it wrong, you get it really wrong. But everything these kids who we met as kids who are now teenagers, everything that came out of their mouths, I believed. And then when one of them says about their mother, I told her if she wanted to meet someone, she should just do it in the normal way, on a proper regulated dating app. Like, don't just pick up some rando at the pokie shop. Is that your kids' language coming through?
Probably. I was very aware of the fact that I couldn't take too much slang of the moment, that because their language changes so quickly. And my children said to me, "Don't even try. You're going to get it wrong if you try to use our language." So far, readers have told me they think they've got it right, but I have not had a 16-year-old reader tell me that I've got it right. So I suspect that they might say we don't say that anymore. But in a way, it doesn't matter. You just want to make it believable, and not, the 6-7
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
You know how once
Yeah.
we started once we started saying
Yeah.
6,
It's
7,
out.
the yeah, it's out.
Yeah.
So obviously you couldn't put anything like that
Now,
in.
because we're meeting them 10 years on, and the gentlemen in this as well, the dads, etc. The other thing that happens, I think, as we get older is that, sickness does start to visit our neighbourhoods. It's happening in my neighbourhood right now. And one of the things that visits a lot of our neighbourhoods, and we all know someone in our street or a woman at school or indeed yourself, that cancer has visited or become a part of their lives. And I know, Liane, with you, you've experienced cancer twice. So I guess all I really want to ask is, how are you?
Firstly, I'm very well. So yes, I had breast cancer 5 years ago, and then again quite recently. I seem to get diagnosed very conveniently just after I deliver a manuscript, so I can get the treatment done before I'm on the road again. But both times caught really early, so I have not had as invasive treatment as I gave
One
the
of the, yes.
characters. In my book, I've been lucky, but having said that, it has not been fun.
No.
But I guess, as you say, knowing so many people, it just felt like that within this community, there was no way that somebody wouldn't be that statistic that nobody wants to be.
Yes, and the other thing in the book, when a character experiences this, one of the things I liked was that in sickness and hard times, there can be humor. There's got to be humor, and there's humor in this book around that as well, when people are talking or trying to work out what they should be doing. And one of the things I loved, I think, was one of the characters just talking with love, but with humor, about just the endless lasagna supply. And we had a lady at our school in the WhatsApp group, which you also have in your book. she had breast cancer, and she wrote in the group, I have breast cancer. Do not send lasagna, in capital letters.
That's so funny. Lasagna, I think, is the thing that because it's easy, it's portable, isn't it? And it keeps and you can freeze it. So it seems like that's the one that everybody
And it's
does.
lovely. It is lovely. And if you don't have humor, in these times, sometimes it's the only thing that gets you through, I think.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mentioned there a parent talking in the WhatsApp group at school. Every school has them. My school has it.
Mm.
And I said to you earlier, there's every sort of parent is in that group. If you want a microcosm of a school group, just go to the WhatsApp. There's always the very organized ones. And then there is, I'm very ashamed to say, the person who never knows what is going on, comes in late, asks stupid questions. In your WhatsApp group in the book, her name is Deb. And I said to you earlier, Liane, I'm very sorry to say and ashamed to say I am the Deb.
But you as a Deb, you make I have the Cecilia in this book which is a little bit of an Easter egg for, as I'm pretending I'm Taylor Swift here, but
Oh, I
she
love
puts the
Taylor
Easter
Swift
eggs
and
in
I
what
love Easter eggs. Go, go. I mean, I love her Easter
you
eggs.
know how she she does it in her songs
Oh, yeah, she
apparently.
does.
Um Yeah, so I have Cecilia just as a tiny minor character on WhatsApp, and she's in The Husband's Secret. So
Yes.
I just in my head I was imagining if Cecilia had moved over to the Pirrawee Peninsula, and she's the one who's answering all of Deb's questions. And she's answering though with pleasure, with and gosh, people like Cecilia save the rest of us. I don't ask the questions, but I watch and I do think, oh, thank goodness
I
that's
was going to say, I
now I
feel
know.
like in your WhatsApp group, you'd be the lurker.
I am the
I knew
lurker,
it.
except for that one time when I was walking the dog and I was apparently the phone was bumping against my leg, so I was posting just the letter A over and over in capitals. So it was like I'd never said anything for an entire school year, and then all of a sudden it says Liane Moriarty. Ah, and my husband was ringing me saying, "What are you doing?" You're just over and over. It's so, so embarrassing.
The only time apart from asking, what do you mean? Is it uniform day tomorrow? All those annoying questions. One time, I don't know how, I sent a voice memo to the WhatsApp group and I was swearing on it.
See, this is my greatest fear. You could who knows what you could send.
And it wasn't good.
But were you talking so my fear is what if you were saying something about somebody? What could be the
I
worst?
feel like that is a deep fear in all of us. You know, you were saying earlier, that when Reese Witherspoon had emailed you, and this is your normal now, this level of success and these sorts of people, you just chatting creativity, which is lovely. This is obviously being made into another series. All of your books have been optioned and you've had such success. But I want to go back in time because everyone who's had great success has also had the other. And I want to talk about that. Let's go back to your first book. I think in 2000, is it 2003?
I know it's over 20 years
Three
ago.
Wishes. And I know, Liane, because we've spoken about this before, I know that for that book, you came to Brisbane, you came to a bookshop. There were not that many people there. And all authors have had that experience. And I asked you
Mm.
what was the difference between that and going to the Emmys with Big Little Lies. And you said to me, well, my shoes hurt on both occasions.
Did I? That is true. That is true. They did. They just always hurt.
So I just want to go back to 2003, Liane. Do you remember those times when you were at the bookshops and very few people there? What do you remember about that? And did you feel disheartened?
I did that Brisbane event, I do remember. So that was the time when there were only two people in the audience. I can remember walking in and the lady there saying, "Are you here to see the author?" Because obviously I looked all sort of nervous and dressed up. And so she said it in this way as, like, "Aren't you sweet coming out on a big, you really dressed up for this night?" And I had to say, "No,
I am.
I
Oh.
am the author." And then there were only the two people there. And I thought to myself, well, even though there's only two people, they had such lovely smiles and they looked so eager and interested. And I thought, well, I must give all of myself to these two people. So I stood behind the podium on my painful high heels, um, and I delivered my speech and they nodded and they smiled along. And then at the end of it, they came up to me and said, "That was lovely, darling." And that's when I learned that it was the bookshop manager's mother and grandmother. She'd called them in a panic to say, "Please come along to watch this author." So not that, and I never do an event without that feeling of terror that there won't be anybody. Because I mean, it's funny because it's not really the point of being an author. I'm not actually a performer, but there is something so humiliating about nobody being there, which is more humiliating even than your book's not selling. That's because it's so public, I guess. And because as authors, we're not normally the sort of people who are charismatic, who it comes easily to go along to these events. So I am permanently scarred by all those early events where nobody was there, and so many authors have shared similar stories.
Yeah, we all have our battle scars. Yeah,
Yes,
I
yeah.
did a signing. Well, the terror of the bookshop signing outside the bookshop, where you just sit there by yourself for so long, and it's just it's like if you want to be humbled.
Or when you're sitting next to another author and they're getting they've got a long line next to them and you have to smile as if you don't care if they're only going to buy their books, and it's terrible.
It's funny that, just on that note, I do remember sitting next to the lovely man who wrote the Treehouse series, Andy Griffith. And his line was so long. My line, nobody. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody. And then finally this woman came out with her son holding his hand and she came over. I thought, oh, thank God. She said, she said, "Could you just sign Andy Griffith's name in my book? Because
Because so
I don't want to keep waiting."
because they didn't want to wait on the line. No, that's
What?
terrible.
And I did.
Did you do it? Did you? That's a wonderful story. Oh, no.
Anyway, it's the worst.
Why not get anybody else to do it or just forge it yourself? Like, go on,
I don't know. You just wanted an extra layer of humiliation to my day.
you're an author, I guess. So she's not an author will do. At least that's
But it's so interesting to me that you say that you can still, not only, I kind of get it, but from that girl who was there in the bookshop with mum and grandma to this girl who I'm pretty sure doesn't have to worry about if people are going to turn up for the signings. I feel like, as you say, you're not a performer. Does it get easier for you though, Liane, like the more success you've had to do all those things? Or in some ways, do you feel even more exposed with more
I
eyes on
guess
you?
yeah, I think at the I guess you develop a sort of muscle memory and you think, okay, it's okay that it's, I can do this. But also I've found as I've got older, everybody else has got younger. It seems like,
That's true.
so for example, in doing interviews with journalists, a lot of the journalists are so young. They're so lovely. So now I'm moving into that matronly where I say, oh, it makes me think of when my grandma was stopped by a policeman once and she said to him, "Oh, what is it, darling?" Because to her, it was just a little boy dressed up in a police uniform. So there's something
Yeah.
relaxing about so many young
Yeah.
people. And nothing seems to matter as much
Well, you don't have that problem with
anymore. I'm not
me.
as
So that's
intense.
good.
you're younger than me. I'm still thinking, oh, Franny, sweet young
Oh, I
Franny.
love that you think that, but that is not true.
We're practically the same age. It is nice also talking to people the same age as you because you've got that
And
shortcut.
cultural
But I think when you're
reference.
younger, yes, but when you're younger, it feels like everybody's older than you and they know how the world works or something. But then we get to this age and realize none of us know how
We
the
didn't
world
know then
works.
when we were young, and we don't know now. But I'm the same. Look, with the young journalists at work, they're so
I
great.
know.
They just, I feel like
Yes.
young people today get such a bad rap, and they've got so much more to contend with than I did in so many ways, and yet I think they're divine.
Yeah, me too. I
So I want to
agree.
go back again. We've gone back a bit in time to that first book and the bookshop. I want to go back further to your growing up years because I love how you grew up. So, Mum, Diane, and beautiful Dad, Vernie, who I know you lost just before COVID. I do remember that. And I remember you would always say, and your sisters would always say, because, there's a beautiful writing vein in your family, that Bernie would take 100% credit for that.
Yes, he
So, why don't
would.
you tell me a little bit about your very first book, the little known, I think it's Dead Man's Island? Was,
Yes, I think
or,
it's
yeah.
yes, no, you're right. It was just called Dead Man's
Ah,
Island. I think I was trying to improve the title then, but it really was
you're
just
such
called
a
Dead Man's
writer.
Island. I know. I was about to say no. It was called The Secret of Dead Man's Island. It was not. It was called Dead Man's Island. Mum told me the story just recently, which I didn't actually remember because she was talking about a photo of me sitting on the front steps with a little notebook in my hand and a pencil. And Mum says that Dad said to me, so I would have been about 8 or 9, and that he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm writing a story. And Mum said, oh, and Dad was just beside himself. He was so excited. And he said, okay, well, what if I commission you? And he said, commission, that's a big word for you, but I'll commission you to write a story for
What
me.
was the rate back then? Do you remember?
Yes, so we believe it was $1 for an exercise book filled with words. And I say we because my sister, Jackie, who's 2 years younger than me, we both got in on this commissioning
I
gig.
think that sounds like a good deal because $1 would have bought a lot of lollies
Yes,
back
that's
then.
pretty good. Yes,
Do you
yes.
think Bernie was a thwarted writer?
No, I don't think so. He was a storyteller and he was a entrepreneur. He was a self-made businessman. He was a aerial surveyor. His dream was to fly, which for growing up in a working class family, that would have seemed impossible. But he did get to fly. So he used to jump off the shed roof holding an umbrella in the hope that he would fly. So I
Huh?
think he was always really about making your dreams come true. So no, I don't think he ever would have wanted to have written
So
a book.
here's your dad, and there's your mum, and she's also taking care of foster kids. Is that correct?
Yes, when my youngest sister Nicola, and she's also an author now. So there was 6 of us, and Mum always just loved babies. So when she decided that, and I think she would have kept having more children if she could have, but when I think the doctor said that that will do it for you, she immediately started fostering babies. So Nicola was just 2 when we got our first foster baby.
There's a lot of love then in her heart because it does, I've done stories on fostering. It does take a special person and family to welcome foster kids into their hearts and homes. So she's pretty special, I think. So you're living in this family. There's no television.
Well, it's not quite true that there was no television. There was no television for a period of time when Dad got cranky with us for all. He came home and we were all watching television, and he cut the cord. But I
Did
think he
he?
could, yes. And so, but then I think they had a secret way of putting it back together again when they could watch Number
I was about to
96 at
say, I bet
night.
they were watching
Like,
number 96 and The Box.
yes, yes. So I think
That's
they did.
hilarious.
It felt like in our lifetime
That's hilarious.
forever that we didn't have a television. But no, I think we got it back fairly
We were the
soon.
last family, I think, in our neighbourhood to get a TV, I think, although memory plays tricks on you about childhood. But I was going to
It
say, in
does.
the absence of TV or some TV, how big a part were books and reading in your life? Because I don't know a writer who wasn't a big reader as a kid yet. Were you a big reader? And what was the first book you remember holding in your hands and reading and realising that books could literally take you to another world?
Yes, I definitely was a big reader, and books were always a part of our lives, which was something that I took for granted. I always remember going away with a girlfriend when I was in my 30s, and it was one of those holidays where we all just sat around reading books.
Mm.
And she said, oh, this is amazing. I've never had a holiday like this. But for me, that's just what we all did that you'd, and the books were there. Books were there because mum took us to the library, plus dad had his bookshelves filled with all sort of thrillers, and grandma had all the often a lot of old English books.
Mm.
So there was never, I never had to worry about not being able to get my hands on a book. I assume it would have been something like I loved all the Enid Blyton books, and that's why that Dead Man's Island.
Yes, of course.
They talk about
Yeah,
smuggling,
the
so
famous
they must
five.
have.
Yeah,
Yes, it was
yeah.
heavily influenced, and I talk about, and then the smugglers were coming, and I've spelled smugglers correctly, but it's very clear that I don't know what a smuggler actually is. I think I thought it was just a
I
bad
just checked.
person.
This won't go in the edit because it's more about me. But I'll tell you a funny story. I recently had to put an archive together for the State Library here, and I found the first story I'd ever written. Like it was just felt pen, very similar. No, no, no. As a kid, and it's all in felt pen. Clearly, so
Yes,
influenced by Enid Blyton. The same.
really.
Literally 5 kids. One of them gets kidnapped by smugglers. But the funniest part, Liane, is that it's pages and pages in this felt pen, and then I found it's all mixed up. But I found one page, and the smuggler writes a ransom note to the parents and puts it under a rock, and
Mm,
it says, if you want your kids back, you better give me $100.
that's adorable.
Because it would be like $1 million.
Yeah, kids, that was cheap back then, ransoms. You should put that in. That's
Look,
gorgeous.
we've talked about early books. Let's go back to your book. And I thought it might be fun. The 5 women, Madeline, Renata, Bonnie, Celeste, and Jane, the 5 core. And of course, there is
Mm,
another woman that comes into the fold. And there are, of course, many other great characters. But those 5, I think, are the ones that readers kind of remember, well, not remember, but have in their hearts. They're the core mums group.
mm.
And I loved meeting them all again. I was going to see if we could play a bit of a word game where I say a woman's name,
Oh,
one of the characters, and you give me one word back for who they are today when we meet them, how you describe them.
good.
Madeline.
Stressed. It's just stress that she's just right there in the suffering the worst stress of her
Yeah,
life.
I think stress is,
See, normally I'd give the word outraged for Madeline. That's what I would have given to her all those years ago, because that's how I described her when I was trying to sort of create that character. I wrote perpetually outraged, like so and a sparkly, shimmery girl, like so and I combined those characteristics, and that's what gave me Madeline. But 10 years later, she's feeling uncharacteristically anxious
yeah.
and not as sure of herself as she was 10 years earlier.
Renata. We can come back to
Mm.
her. You can say pass.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Pass.
Celeste.
Peace.
Yes.
Peace for Celeste.
Lovely.
I wanted Celeste to be in a peaceful place, and yeah, it was a joy to put her there.
Jane?
Confusion because yes, she's sort of having an identity crisis because of what she went through, and yeah, she's at the sort of precipice of a new way of thinking, of exploring new ways to be.
Bonnie.
The abyss, she's
Yes.
swirling.
Yes.
Um, Bonnie has always been calm and the calm meditator, and she's always had the best relationship with her daughter. And the teenage
Yeah.
years for Bonnie are, even though really she's got a delightful teenager, but she can't cope with
She
Sky.
brings so much herself to those teenage years. Yeah. I love Bonnie. Should we try Renata again? Poor Renata.
Renata. I was going to say, what's the better word for it's not redemption because it's not, and it's not really revenge. It's a word. It's a word that means
Yeah.
she's getting what she deserves. But it's a mixture of those
Yes.
two things. There'll be a word that I'll think of.
You can ring me at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, when it when it comes. I did an interview with a journalist the other day, and I was trying to think of the word, this very basic word, which was contradict. I could not get the word contradict, and she then, because when you can't get it and she was saying, "I know, yes, I know what you mean," and then finally, just towards the end, she suddenly said, "Contradict." Just a
Trying to
simple
think of
word.
Renata's word now, and it's annoying me too. Yeah, it's not
Mm,
redemption. Anyway, well, okay. And
it's not.
and
Yeah.
finally, because like all these women in Big Little Truths, they've gone through a lot in the last 10 years. They've had their own ups and downs, and they are who they are now. And all those words you just described them, I think, are really apt, except for Renata. I think you could have done better with Renata. So my last question to you, Liane Moriarty, one word for you today with everything that's happened to
Oh
you in the
no.
last, since I last spoke with you. If you could find a word that describes where you are now.
I just okay. I'm okay. I think that's something I feel like something that people
That's a great word
yes,
to be.
people our age, I do find myself sometimes saying to myself, "You're okay. You're okay. Everything's okay." So I think I'd say that. I'm
I think
okay.
that when we get to a certain age that
Yep.
we are, we know that being able to say you're okay is bloody excellent.
Yes, that's all that you need. And I feel like that sounds like I should say I'm grateful for all the wonderful things, and which I am. Yeah, but I'm just happy to be
And
okay.
I'm really happy that you're okay too.
I hope you're okay too, Fanny. You okay?
I
You
really
okay?
am. Thank you for asking. Thank you for listening to my chat with Liane Moriarty about her new book, Big Little Truths. And I hope you join me next time on Humankind. Thank you.